As rightly said, if we all think of us would really think. Thinking outside the box is the key to innovation, the key to discovery, the key to development. It's the differential perception of people which leads to augmentation, but which also leads to ideas, leads to conflict, and also leads to solution. Today we and the world will be candid to a different opinion. Today we are going to be candid to the book of two empty commas. Honorable Shafak ma'am, esteemed Vijay sir, respected teachers and all my fellow friends, a delightful afternoon to one and all present here. I am Khalid Khurshid, and today on this august occasion of the launch of the book of the two empty commas by our exemplary student Miss Zehwah Zahoor, we are joined and please welcome Mr. Sajjad Qadri, an officer of the Jammu and Kashmir Administrative Service, Dr. Rasik, Assistant Professor, English Literature, Kashmir University, Ehsanul Haq Chishti and Idil Salam, both being Cardinal Officers of the Jammu and Kashmir Administrative Service. And from the media fraternity, we are joined by Mr. Nazir Masoodi, Mr. Nasir Ahmed Ganai and Pirzada Ashik, all bureau chiefs from NDTV, The Outlook and The Hindu respectively. From the fraternity of, let's say, life guruship, we are joined by Mr. Arun Waklu. Last but not the least, our chief guest, that is Director Handicrafts and Handloom and Director of School Education, Mr. Mahmood Ahmad Shah. Please give a big round of applause to all these busy men for taking out time from their busy schedules. Today we also have the pillars of the story, that is Miss Zehwah Zahoor. We have Pirzada Zahoor Ahmed and Miss Amina Bano. Please give a thundering applause for this lovely duo. Thank you. Some things need to be done formally. Through her skills, Miss Zehwah Zahoor has inaugurated her place in our hearts. But the formal inauguration of her book is yet to be done. To do this job, I call upon Shafak ma'am, Mr. Dhar, the guest, the author's parents, and the author herself to do the same. Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, as they say, feedback is the breakfast of champions. One champion we are having over here, I believe due to her busy schedule, might have skipped hers. To keep the champion happy and to protect my employment as an anchor, I call upon Mr. Sajjad Qadri to provide her with a concrete breakfast of feedback, review and suggestion. Mr. Qadri.
Respected Sir Saab, the Chief Guest Mahmood Saab, the management of the school, parents of Zehwah Zahoor and the owner of this gathering, Zehwah Zahoor, and other dignitaries here, good afternoon. It's a matter of great privilege for me to be here standing amongst you and discussing something that's very close to my heart. That is the poetry. Poetry, and that too when a book is published by a child, I would say, a daughter, Zehwah Zahoor. It has been I think 2 years back when she shared some of the poems with me. I was really impressed with the kind of thought behind each of them, with the kind of emotions, the soulful emotions. I was overwhelmed. And I, in fact, have been writing myself since my childhood, very humble scribbles, but I felt ashamed of myself when I saw the intensity, the depth in each word she's putting on the paper. I congratulate her again here on this dais, and I'm feeling proud of my friend Zahoor Saab also, who has mentored a daughter, and Zahoor Saab's missus also. I can see tears welling up in his eyes, and even welling up in the eyes of her little sister. So this is something you expect of the parents, and how proud they must be feeling right now when their daughter, just 18, has crossed all domains and reached a place to write, to put the words on the paper. So it's not easy to write poetry, let me confess. It's not normal prose, it's not fiction, it's not something you are writing an autobiography or you are putting your thoughts on the paper. That's very easy. You read 100 books and you will be able to write any kind of the prose. But poetry is something that's related to your heart, your soul actually. It flows, it comes from somewhere which is abstract. Putting abstract thoughts, abstract things into letters is not an easy task. So whatever Zehra has done, whatever she is doing, it is something ordinary people do not do. There are many people, even in this gathering, there must be big brains, there must be big thoughts in your mind, there must be so much of knowledge people are carrying. But then every one of you is, or every one of us is not as expressive as the poet is. So that is something where poetry is something very special, and Zehra is in fact gifted with this talent. I can see in her poetry. The first thing that I would like to say about this book of 2 empty commas is there is a lot between these empty commas. It is not empty commas. It is emotions, some tragic feelings, something which cannot be said normally. So that is between these empty commas. So these empty commas are to be understood. As she has written in her preface also, you don't need to run across this book and just flip the page. You read each one of it. Even if it takes you 365 days to read just 90 of them, you please have a slow pace and understand each word of it. Then only you will be able to reach to the true context of the poem she has put on the paper. So I was really impressed with the first poem she has written. The first poem I read. I will not be talking about all the poems because I have read them once, but I need to understand them again one by one. But the first one is so impressive. It talks about something very special. Are you ready to listen? Are you ready to know what is there in the heart, what is there in the... See, normally what we do is when we converse with our friends, there are a lot many things we share. Sometimes we hold some certain things to ourselves. We don't talk everything to our friends. That's all about these few lines she has written in the first poem, where she's saying, first, should I say or should I not say? And then if I decide to say, are you ready to listen? Do you have the capacity to listen? So these are the things which we hardly think about. So each one of the poem has a message. Each one of the poem is so intricately and beautifully written. I put my hands together again with a great applaud for Zehwah Zahoor. I want all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Today, the author of the book that is getting inaugurated is Miss Zehwah Zahoor. For me personally, Miss Zehwah Zahoor has always been Zehwah Didi. She always used to be the cool kid on the back seat of the bus and also the caring kid ready at the front. She has a magnetic personality compounded by a magnificent wit. She has the ability to make the best out of the worst of all. Please give a warm welcome to Zehwah Didi to grace us on the stage.
Seeing all of you brings so much of warmth to my heart. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your kind words. It's humbling all the things that you said. Let's try to stay on the ground and let's hope for the best in the future, inshallah. You know, the bigger event for me really is not releasing my book, but more so releasing my poetry book. And I'll tell you why. I have a crazy history of how I got into poetry, okay? It all started when I was in 5th grade. Our English lab had newly started. We had our first class in the English lab. Nice fancy class with mics and headphones, okay? It's back in 2014, that was still technology, okay? So we had our first class, and coincidentally, our first class was on poetry writing. What a class. And it was after that class, at that point in my life, that I decided, I am never doing this again. That class was so boring. Oh my God. I was like, bro, I'll solve math Olympiads at a corner than, do poetry. It went straight over my head. It just didn't register with me. I mean, I had just gone up from Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, how I wonder what you are, to rhyme scheme, to alliteration, to poetic devices, and all of the stuff. So it did not register with me. Later in the same year, we had one library session, and we were actually given Geronimo Stilton by Tahmina ma'am. All the homies here who have read Geronimo Stilton, can you raise your hands? You see. It's Geronimo Stilton, it's Captain Underpants, it's Goosebumps. We have the clicks also in that. So for those who don't know, for the newcomers and for our guests here, it's actually a culture in our school that whenever we start reading, like the whole phase of reading in our school, it starts with Geronimo Stilton. And in that also there are different cliques. There's the Geronimo Stilton clique, there's the Wimpy Kid clique, there's the Judy Moody clique, there's the Hardy Boys clique, all the cliques, and they're competing with each other. This one is better one. But certainly it was in one of these books, the back matter of the book, there was one page that said, tips and tricks to write poetry. And I was like, oh, I don't have to read it, of course. But then I just skipped the pages and flipped the pages over. But my fingers couldn't stop but like retrace them back to that page. So it was tips and tricks to write poetry, and I went through it, read it through, it stuck into my mind, and then book closed, chapter closed, matter closed. Fast forward, in my grade 6th, our English teacher gave us an assignment, and that assignment was, okay, fellas, students, you have to compose your own poetry, you have to compose your jingle, and we'll see which group of the class composes their best jingle. So in one of those, in that activity, me and my team, my friends couldn't come. She had contracted COVID, unfortunately. So in that activity, we made a jingle. And the point was to impress the teacher. We had Fazilat ma'am as our English teacher at that point. And because, if she was impressed, then matters were solved for the rest of the year, So in that activity, we composed a poem, a jingle, and we did it like full scale. We wrote the poem, I guess it was like approximately 4 stanza poem of 4 verses each, and in that poem we did it like a full blast. Teacher was impressed, kids were impressed, we were like, we're set for the day. And after that session I was like, wow, I am a poet, right? Because all the things that I learned from that Geronimo Stilton clicked back to me, and I was like, okay, I see you there, Zehwah, I see you there. Next year also passed, and we had, in 7th grade, a similar kind of an activity, and I made another poem. And I was like, yeah, I am really a poet. Come on, please, someone spare my Nobel Prize for me. But it wasn't actually poetry, Kids do it. Save Earth, save treasure, save girl, save treasure, same matter, repeated over and over again. But I was in the dreams that I was a poet. It took me like a few years. In 10th grade, it finally registered to me that, okay, Zehwah, step down. You're not exactly that poet that you think you are. But when somebody would ask to seem intellectual, oh, do you know poetry? Do you read poetry? I was like, yeah, I write poetry. Yeah, I know poetry. So it did be like that. But then 2019, 2020 were years of different experience for me, as they were for everyone else, in terms of self-growth and self-reflection. And there were a lot of thoughts that were in my head that I wanted to get out. I wanted someone to listen to me. And I had an interaction one fine day, with a very beautiful teacher. Some of you already know her. I had a very beautiful conversation, and that conversation really liberated me and my self-expression. it was all about the self-expression that I was waiting for so long. It was mugged up inside of me. I couldn't figure out where do I express it, how do I express it. So one fine day, coincidentally, I landed a conversation with Sumera ma'am. Okay, so she's your star. She's the reason behind it all. She did it. That's a secret, yeah. So Sumera ma'am ke saath mera conversation hua, and after that conversation, my self-expression, you'd say, it exploded. Because that day when I expressed myself in front of her, it was truly, truly liberating per se. And when I came back from the school that day and went to my chemistry class, my sir was teaching me, and I was having all these thoughts in my head that were forming a pattern of their own, a poem of their own, my first poem. Okay, so that is the first day I wrote my first poem. And sir keh rahe the, beta aapko samajh aaya? Maine kaha, haan sir, sab samajh aa gaya. But you know, your girl was being a poet at that time. So yeah. On that day, that is when I wrote my first poem, my first liberation, my first free expression of myself. And since then, all that came to me, I couldn't resist but express it in a rhythm, and that rhythm formed a poem. It was not something that I forced and stressed on, like, oh my god, okay, I have to write it in this way and I have to think of this thing to put in the poem. No, it was so natural and so raw that came to me because I was just mindful of expressing myself. Khalas. Expressing myself. And yeah, trust me, since then, every time I've sat down to study physics, chemistry, maths, I have been a poet. And that's the secret, really. You study maths to become a poet. That has been my secret. Some of you become artists, some of you become musicians, some of you become rappers when you're studying math, and that's the power of math creativity on point. Okay, fellas. So, I did write so many poems since then, but I think the thought of writing these poems and composing them into a book wouldn't have encountered to me if this encouragement or this exposure that this thing is possible. Yes, you can compose your things into a book or into a literature medium. So literature medium. If you don't, I got that exposure from my teachers. I had Diva ma'am who was encouraging me all the time. I was in 8th grade. She was the first one that got me that sort of an exposure that, this girl in 7th grade is writing a book. This is possible. You guys can also write your books and stuff. And then a lot of students were publishing books in the school, really. And that really gave me that exposure as well. Last time I attended a book event. It was of my junior. Her name is Sadia Nisar. She couldn't come because she has her exams going on right now, unfortunately. So when I saw Sadia, I was like, wow, this is so cool. This is so possible. And I had no idea that next year I'd have a book of my own, all by the grace of Allah. When I, earlier, all the trends that are happening in school, so many books being released, also in the Valley, so many books being released. I think earlier it used to be, oh my God, that girl in 7th grade wrote a book of her own. Now it's like, another book. But you see, this another book and this big event is bigger only because of you. It's beautiful. I'd reiterate what I said in the start, that this event, the bigger event is not releasing a book, but my poetry book. But what makes this big thing bigger is your presence and your support. And when you say, oh my God, Zehwah, I'm so excited for you. Yeah, you're releasing your own book. I'm so proud of you. Trust me, I was like, oh my God, why are you supporting me so much? Don't get me. So it was so overwhelming, and kudos to all of you that are listening so patiently, kudos to all of you that are excited on my behalf, kudos to all of you that you're excited as if it's your own project. Thank you so much. I'll just give you some brief information about my book and what's going on with the book. So as you see, the title is kind of unique, kind of old-fashioned. We had a lot of risk going into the title because a lot of recommendations that came in were like, how do people refer to your book? Like, if I have to refer your book to someone, how do they do it? So for that reference, I have quoted as a reference as the book of 2 empty commas, so that those empty commas, encircle within a lot of emotions, a lot of introspection, a lot of feelings, a lot of yourselves, I reiterate, a lot of yourselves. Okay, I just have to complete, folks. I just have to wrap it up quickly. Now, there is the title inspiration, quickly I'll tell you, is that when in 8th grade, Diba ma'am, who's also a writer, also a novelist of Kashmir, in Kashmiri language, which is so amazing, because I myself have the dream of writing in Kashmiri language and contributing to my language. So Diba ma'am used to counsel us and guide us again and again that, a writer writes a piece of art, but a writer can never tell you what you have to discern out of the piece. It is only and only up to you what you want to discern out of it. It's only limited to you what you want to make out of it. Thus the empty commas, thus the empty title. So I have devised a very interesting activity for you in this book that you should find surely when you read the book. Thank you.
Now I call upon our respected principal, Miss Shafaq Afshan, on the stage for a few words. Over to you, ma'am. Please give a big round of applause for ma'am.
A very good afternoon to all of you present here. As I've been told to be very quick, so I'll try to be very brief. First and foremost, it's such a pleasure moment for me seeing Zehwah from a child into a poet. The enthralling poetess of ours, I'm so proud of her, and I congratulate her parents on such an auspicious moment. This is what is the objective of our school. Seeing a skill in a child and trying to help and hone the skill in a child so that a child reaches where the child should be. I really feel that she is going to be your inspirational person. You have to follow her footsteps. And I would like to thank all the dignitaries for taking their time and attending this and encouraging our Zehwah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Hashtag peace and harmony is the dialect of today's Gen Z on Twitter. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have the true ambassador of peace and harmony in the room. Please welcome Mr. Anand Waklu.
So, hearty good afternoon to everyone, and let me start by inviting you all, everyone here, to give a standing ovation to the school and the teachers. Standing ovation. I want you to stand up. Thank you. This is really what schools are about. There's a beautiful saying about schools. It says, Sa vidya ya vimuktaye. Knowledge and education is that which liberates. And what a beautiful example of liberation. Young girl Zehwah has expressed herself freely and come out with a beautiful book. But I just want to remind you of one simple thing. The creative intelligence that flowed out in Zehwah Zahoor to produce this beautiful book with the encouragement of all the people here and the teachers, the same creative intelligence lies in every single one of us. It's like a sun which may be overshadowed in some cases. In some cases, the sun is shining bright, but the sun is there. So would you join me in remembering that you, the young people in this room, especially the young people, are the leaders of tomorrow's world? Do you agree? How many of you agree with that? We are the leaders of a new world. It doesn't seem very enthusiastic. You are the leaders of a new world. Yes? Okay. So, if it's okay with you, we'll just remember something. In Kashmiri, there's a saying, "Van man chukoh nashan." That means when you keep saying an affirmation again and again and again, it begins to sow the seeds of reality. So are you willing to take a little pledge with me to remember that you are the creators of a new future? Are you ready? Yes. So just repeat after me. I am pure, unbounded creative intelligence. I will use this intelligence with compassion, with love for myself, for other people, and all of nature to co-create a world that works for all. A world of joy, peace, and abundance. My dream, ladies and gentlemen, is that all of us here in this room will become a lighthouse to show the world what does it mean to live with love and compassion for ourselves, other people, and the environment. And so it is now. This is my prayer. And I want to end with one simple blessing. When our elders in Kashmir would bless people, they would say a simple thing, and that is Mojud Roz. And you know what that means? Mojud Roz means be present to Allah's grace, be present to the gifts that life is showering on us. Live in the now and give life the best you have. Congratulations, Zehwah. And thank you, everyone. And thank you, Vijay ji. Thank you, Zehra Madam. Sumaira ji. Thank you and God bless you and Mojud Roz, everybody.
Mojud Rose. Thank you, sir. Now I call upon our venerated chairman and the towering personality, that is Mr. Majidhar, to come on stage and grace us with his wisdom.
Good afternoon, everybody. I think I'm a gap filler here because I was first said that you won't speak. Shafaq ma'am will only speak. Otherwise, I would have brought a longer speech. But let me introduce first the chief guest here, Shah Sahab, of whom I've heard a lot. And now he's wearing various caps as far as the government is concerned. And one of the caps he's wearing is after my heart, and that's handicraft. Am I right, sir? So there I would make a request to him. This has been my dream, that we have not been able to make Kashmir brand. Kashmir is popular. Kashmir shawl is popular. Kashmir almonds are popular. But we have not created a Kashmir brand. So I would request him to kindly look into it. It should be Kashmir shawl, Kashmir carpet, Kashmir walnut, Kashmir, everything Kashmir. Kashmir gushtaba, Kashmir rista, whatever it is. So having said that, I am very short of words as far as Zehwah is concerned. But I must compliment particularly her mother, who I've seen many times in the school. And I think she had a little prayer in her heart every time she came to the school. Mojud Rose. Now, I must also continue with what Arun said, that you're a lighthouse, each one of you. But I'll tell you one thing, which I tell most of you. Please remind yourself every day in the morning that you are the best. If you're second best, then you'll be trampled. So you have to be the best. And you have so many of the children I see here are so talented and so good that I'm sure they still consider themselves second best, but please consider yourself as the best. Okay? Now I won't waste much of your time, but I will read just 2 paras from Zehwah's book. May I? It says may I. And may I? Maybe. And maybe I am. Sorry, I can't. Maybe I am the emotion of your heart that you just left and forever remaining spark. This para says a lot. I don't know what Zehwah meant by that, but it does say a lot. Then there's another para which says, her beautiful butterfly heart, it moves forward with an ecstatic hope of, sorry, my eyes are so bad, fresh and a better news. I think these two paras, in my opinion, I consider very good. And I also would like to wish Zehwah to be a great poet in the future. I had a great desire once upon a time to become a writer. And my reserved profession even today is a journalist. Of course, I can't compete with the gentlemen who are sitting here because I can't stand in front of a video. Even you can see that I'm turning red standing in front of all of you. But that's another profession where you need a lot of talent. Writing is one, and a writer is another. So as it was mentioned earlier, to write a book is easy. Maybe in my dream I must have written many because I might have read many. So I could pick up a paragraph of 10 books and make a book. But that's not it. What is here in this book is a heart. And that heart has been grown, matured by this school, for which I take great pride in. The teachers and the students of this school are by far the best. I can tell you that. And I feel very proud, particularly when I see a teacher attending a vazwan or a wedding and the cook comes by and he says, "Aap DPS se ek aur rishta kha lo." Which makes me very proud. Me, of course, they say, "Aap do rishte kha lo." Then quietly they tell me, "Ji, agle saal mere bachche ko admission milega." So I have to tell him, "Ki bhai, ek rishta wapas le lo." But anyway, that is how you are. You must understand that you have a future. My God, children, if I were 10 years younger, I would turn this world upside down. But anyway, I'm giving it to you to turn the world upside down. You have a future. What a future, each one of you. It's not only writing. I mean, everything. You have everything on your fingertips. I never could get the book into my head, but you've got it right in front of you, so you don't have to even learn. I had a complaint against a teacher last month. So I asked the students, what's wrong with the teacher? He's a very good teacher. Sir, he doesn't consult Google Auntie. So I said, okay, I'll tell the teacher to consult Google Auntie. But what happens? He said, that is more important for us because we consult Google Auntie. But ladies and gentlemen, what I see here is handsome men and beautiful girls. If there is ever a beauty contest in this valley, I'm sure you'll stand the first. But you are the best, so remain the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request our distinguished chief guest, Mr. Mahmood Ahmad Shah, to address the gathering and give his precious inputs.
Thank you. Dignitaries on the dais, Senior Dar Sahab, Junior Dar Sahab, Principal, my friend and colleague, Sajad Sahab, the main protagonist of this occasion, Zehwah Zahoor, Nazir Sahab, my friend Ahsan, Mr. Zahoor. To start with, I'll say that Zahoor Sahab, Ahsan Sahab, Sajad Sahab, we studied together and we have grown up together. And it's not only a proud moment for Mr. Zahoor, but all of us to see Zehwah metamorphosed into such a talent. Unfortunately, I have not visited this institution. I was told when I came here that this institution has a history of 20 years. And it took me 20 years to come over. I am very sorry for that, for not having come over here. And as I came here, I was ushered in and taken into a complex which hosts specially able children. So after seeing that and coming here and seeing the launch of this amazing book, I had certain questions in my mind, and then I wanted to connect the dots. So I go back into the history. I hope the students are here. and I have, while growing up, I felt a dilemma. Is that I wanted to, during my school days, I wanted to understand, and my college days, and in my university days, and during my professional life, I wanted to understand Kashmir. I was obsessed with understanding Kashmir, and unfortunately, I understood Kashmir only through the trek logs and travel logs written by Britishers. Today, when I came into this room, I wanted to connect these dots, and I hope some of you, I earnestly believe that all of you must be knowing that way back there was a book written which was called as Lala Rukh. Have you heard of it? So Lala Rukh is a compilation of poems written by an Irish gentleman called Thomas Moore. So Thomas Moore was a blind. He was visually impaired. So people in those times used to come to Kashmir and then go back to England, and they used to praise about the beauty of Kashmir. And taking inspiration from the anecdotes he heard, he compiled a collection of poems, and then gave it a form of a book called Lala Rukh. So it goes like, who has not heard about Valley of Kashmir with its roses so bright, so on and so forth. And I request all of you to just read that book and take inspiration. Because it has been very special place. People have been coming to Kashmir, writing poems. We have a very interesting Kashmiri poet called Rasul Mir, who is also credited as being the Keats of Kashmir. So poetry runs very deep in our psyche. So this place has produced very famous poets, and also inspired poets who have come to Kashmir, or even those poets who have not visited Kashmir, to write about Kashmir. So continuing the legacy, I wish and expect Zehwah Zahoor to write more and more and give us more joy and have such gatherings. Well, not everybody is as fortunate to get the guidance and encouragement from teachers and academicians like what you have here in DPS. I have been struggling, maybe a kitab bana raha hu, and I'm still struggling to find a publisher. So compliments to the school that they have not only been able to complete a book and publish it also, and do today the inaugural ceremony. So that speaks volumes of the support system which this institution has. So my congratulations to the whole school and its administration. And I'm so happy to see that the talent, the creative talent, is being channelized in a right direction. So that's all I would like to say. I hope that I am able to participate in more such events and see more such careers unfold. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I ask you to felicitate Ms. Zehwah Zahoor with a certificate of appreciation. Now I request Mr. Vikas Dhar to come on the stage for a thank you note.
Rather than saying thank you, actually, I have a wish for all of you. Everyone said something about Zehwah, but if you look at Zahoor Saab and Mrs. Zahoor, the way they've supported their child in all our endeavors, I hope for all of you, कि आपके भी वालिदैन इतना support करें आप. With that, I say thank you to everyone.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to express our immense gratitude to the guests who sacrificed a part of their precious time to be here with us today, as well as the chief guest, Mr. Mahmood Ahmad Shah, and the guest of honor, Mr. Vijay Dhar, whose opinions I'm sure will be of immense value to all our listeners today. None of this event would have been possible without the guidance of our esteemed principal, Ms. Shafaq Ma'am, Ehsan Sir, and the coordinator for international affairs, Ms. Said Sumaira. To the success story of this, we have to pay gratitude to our non-teaching staff. Without them, nothing would have been possible. I also would like to thank the journalists who have gathered here. Thank you for being present here. Thank you all for spending their precious time on this event. And in the end, briefly to the author, that you rock, girl. Bravo. Thank you.